started doing photography in the dark room in the school, and I had the space to explore my creativity a lot more than when I was a secondary school student in Hong Kong, where the priorities were slightly different. I was by all means a good student, but I wasn't. I think actually one of my high school teachers told me that I was not artistic at that point. And then when I went to this international school, I had the space to explore things and go into the dark room and do film developing and printing pictures, and I was very much immersed in the dark room. That's how I started, and that is the passion that I remember from 24 years ago, which led me to start to re-explore that probably about 5 years ago, even though I had continued with photography, but it was probably only 5 years ago that I started thinking of the process and the thinking behind making images as opposed to going around and do the snap, 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 snap. And it was about 2 years ago that I moved from living in London for 12 years before New York, and I moved to Singapore. And I would be lying if I say that Singapore was the most exciting place I've ever lived in. And I started thinking I need to do an exercise that would combine that feeling with my photography, because I took a lot of pictures exploring around the world, and usually of people and exotic places, architectural landscape. It was a really big mix. Coincidentally, when I started thinking I'd like to take up the challenge and create a set of images that would translate feelings, intangibles, emotions onto the paper through visuals as opposed to through words. How I was going to do that, and I was very lucky to have met around that time a very well-known artist called John Clang, and he just said to me in a very cryptic way, I like the voice that I see in this set of images, take this with you and carry on building on that, but in your day-to-day. It's a beautiful, one of the most beautiful architectural structures that I really just like went like, wow. And I stood in front of that and I felt, wow, there's something very metaphysical about it. The light and the contrast reminded me of something. I don't know whether you are familiar with an artist, Greek-Roman, Giorgio de Chirico, and he and Dali had belonged to the school of surrealism, and that was the moment, and I felt it and I wanted to capture it in an image, and I had a series of images like this, and that's what John Clang had seen and said, carry on with this. So it was not like, okay, I have the choice or the chance to go somewhere else. I just use that feeling, take that with me, conserve it, meditate on it, carry on taking pictures around my immediate surroundings in Singapore. And many of the images that are in the book right now are taken within 30 minutes walk of my residence in Singapore. And I just carry on doing that walk every day and trying to find beauty, something unusual, or what I could have taken for granted on a day-to-day basis. And that's how I developed that throughout the course of maybe a year. I had a few working titles that has to do with consciousness, subconsciousness, but at the end, you are taking a glimpse of the feelings and my thinking, and so it's something to do with my brain. And in order to translate that, they became the working title, the final title, Fragments of Great.
That's related to the brain.
True. The story that I've read is about a traveler passing a certain village, and the villager is the same villager. He goes across this village and met this villager and said, how's the place that I'm heading towards like? The villager asks, how was the place that you just left? It's like, and the traveler goes, it was horrible. And the villager answered, then wherever you're going to will also be horrible. Very blunt answer. Second traveler came by, the same villager, said, how's the place in front of me like? And the villager said, well, how was the place that you just left like? And the traveler goes, it was a wonderful place. And the villager goes, well, so wherever you're going, it will also be wonderful.